And we are back on the build phase. I'm Mr. Ben, and today I am going to talk about a main character that I don't think I have ever mentioned on the show before, and that is the Shield affiliated Nick Fury. This guy is a 255 with range. His main phase superpower on his level 1 side is pay a red, hide a ready supporting character on your side, and he levels up requiring 6 experience. At the end of your turn, Nick Fury gains 1 XP for each ready character on your side. So, this is the main character I've decided to dive into and try to craft a deck around today. Before I get into that, I want to give a shout out to all the patrons of the show, the people who keep the lights on around here. If you like what we're doing here, patreon.com/thebuildphase and join the coolest clubhouse in Versus. Okay, so in continuing my hey, I'm building decks to have fun at the kitchen table series. I really, I think what I want is an ability to like open up Pocket Versus and hit one button and have it randomly show me a main character. Uh, Obs enters the chat and says, "Hey, I already did that." uh, but so what I did today is I opened up. Uh, I set it so that all of my all the main characters were what being shown, and I just scrolled my mouse wheel. I just scrolled and scrolled, and eventually I got stopped and I looked at what was on the page and I went, "That's my guy." So what actually caught my eye was Nick Fury level 2. At level 2, he still has range, he still has 5 health, he still has undercover mission, but he becomes a 6/6 and he gains the Infinity Formula. Main phase, pay a blue, Nick Fury can't be wounded for the rest of the game. At the end of each of your turns, if you didn't use this power this turn, KO Nick Fury. So you have the ability to just lose the game if you can't get your resources lined up correctly. Um, and I decided I wanted to build a deck around this guy. Now, competitive viability, words like you lose the game are not generally what I want to see on cards that I put into my tournament decks. So I have not really spent a lot of time with this guy previously because most of my experience with this game is around trying to find good cards to put into my deck and play competitively viable things. But today I'm going pure kitchen table. So to begin, we obviously have to put in 4 helicarriers and 4 laboratories. Be a little silly not to run 4 training ground. So that's our 12 location package. 12 locations is a small number of locations for a deck. I completely understand that, but I wanted to pack this full of lots of options. And Shield has a built-in way, in fact, one of my favorite keywords in the entire game. They have a built-in way to fix bad draws, and that is the agent keyword. So when I first sat down to work on this, there were a few things that were immediate. Obviously, the location kit, those are locked before without really any second thought. The strategic homeland intervention plot twist is locked without much additional thought. And I figured shock to the system, as boring as it is, it's like the generic defensive pump that we all have to play. Obviously, I'm going to play agents, but before I even thought about agents, I thought about Captain America. So the 5 cost Shield affiliated Captain America, who is a 581, has seen almost no play because this was printed right before the world went into COVID lockdowns, and Shield has never really been the hotness. This is never. I mean, yes, Quake has seen some love. Don't let me besmirch Quake, but for the most part, the Shield team, the main characters, have not seen a lot of love. And this is one of those main characters that instead of having uh, they've done loyalty a few different ways over the years. This is one of the cards that requires you to have a shield main character in order to play this card at all. And as such, we just don't see Captain America hit the board very often because not many people are playing shield main characters. What this guy does, though, as Director of Shield, once per turn, when another character on your side gets attacked, you may remove it from the combat and have a different character on your side become the defender. If you do, switch their positions. So this puts in a way for you to disrupt your opponent's attacks and make them have to attack inefficiently. I really like that. As I was working on this deck, one card jumped out to me that I really wanted to include, and this I will admit this is a little bit of an anti-synergy card. This is a little bit more of a control-y card, and largely what I'm doing here is a aggressive, yeah, an aggressive deck. But I felt like I had to put Nick Fury Sr. in. Like I just had to. So Nick Fury Sr., the 3 cost, anti-registration affiliated, 4/5/1 with range, with a contingency plan, main phase, pay a red, choose an enemy character, it loses and can't gain powers until the start of your next turn, including level up powers. This card probably does not belong in this deck, other than I just like the theme of having the Sam Jackson style Nick Fury with the grizzled old man style Nick Fury. And since it's Nick Fury and Nick Fury Sr., they have different titles, so I will be able to play them. Maybe not the best inclusion in the deck, but I wanted it there. And because it's there, that did kind of push me in the direction of anti registration. I immediately thought of a handful of different things that could be really useful. Secret Avengers as a plot twist at level 2. This is a +3. It's an uh, unwavering loyalty. It's a +3/+3 for my main character. That feels really good, but I'm only putting 2 in the deck, and I'll get to why here in a little bit. So this deck did get a little overstuffed. So I guess I'll start from the beginning of the curve now that I've kind of laid out my thought process and how I attacked this. So originally I had 4 shield agents in here, but I ended up cutting them because I wanted 4 prowlers and 4 multiple mans. These guys are going to activate my Secret Avengers. Prowler draws me a card. I've gone on, I think I did an entire podcast about how good I thought this card was. Pay 1, get a body, draw a card, activate your anti-reg plots. Very good. I have always liked this one drop. And multiple man, having the ability to go into your deck and find another multiple man. If you can get him out on 1 and keep the 2 multiple mans alive with Nick Fury up front with a 5 butt, that's probably feasible against a lot of decks. Not always, but it's not insane to think Nick Fury up front would be able to keep a couple of 2/1s in the back row alive for a turn. Well, now you have your entire level up on turn 2 because you get the experience at the end of your turn. You play multiple man on turn 1, you get the second one out, so you get 2 XP at the end of turn 1. You go into turn 2, you get 2 more multiple man without even having to play anything from hand, and you now have your 6 XP, and Nick Fury is completely leveled up. So I think multiple man is really, really strong here. Prowler, I could probably be convinced to turn that back into a shield agent just to get more agent triggers, because I think agent triggers are going to be really important here. You're going to need the cards you need when you need them. Uh, and that, I mean, that's true of every deck, but there's some glaring weaknesses in this list that I think makes it more reliant on draw fixing than maybe some other decks would be. Moving into the 2 slot, Sharon Carter, again, one of my all-time favorite cards in the history of the game. I like the card art with her gigantic gun. I like the character from the comics. I like agent as a keyword. When she appears, look at cards on the top of your deck equal to the number of agents on your side, and then you can put them to the top or bottom of your deck. This is Scry if you come from Magic, although when I played Magic, it was before they named that keyword. And also, when she appears, she lets you draw a card. So she does similar to what Prowler does, but even better because you're going to have a choice of at least, do I want the card that's on top of my deck or not? And if you have the other 2-drop in play, say Fitzsimmons, which is Agent Agent, a 2/2/2, with a couple of superpowers that I genuinely don't care about, and we probably wouldn't use in this deck because we really need to use our superpower activations at the end of the game to keep our Nick Fury alive, or to pay the reds to keep our supporting characters alive with Nick Fury's power. But Fitzsimmons does offer you the ability to pay yellow to pay 2 less for your next character, or pay a red to pay 2 less for your next equipment. I don't foresee using either of those powers in this game. I mean, over the many years of playing Fitzsimmons in many of my decks, I am not sure I've ever used those powers. The reason you play this card is because they have Agent, Agent, and they have 2 health. So you play a Sharon Carter. Next turn, you play a Fitzsimmons. Well, you now have 3 agents, so you get to go 3 cards deep. Or you do it the reverse of that, and you go 3 cards deep and choose the card you're going to draw with Sharon Carter. Either way, I love these 2/2 drops for the kind of person who wants to draw extra cards and have control over the quality of the cards that they're, or that, I shouldn't say that, the specificity of the cards that they're drawing. But I assume we all put quality cards in our decks, right? Uh, these two drops really just, I've loved them for years. I continue to love them. I will say, while I'm going on about cards that I've played a lot, one card that immediately jumped out to me that I thought I might want in this deck was Build a Better World. The ability to reuse your blues with Nick Fury level 2 seems pretty good, but I decided I've spent so much time with A-Force. I didn't want to splash A-Force into this deck. I wanted to do something else. So that's why that specific card didn't get included. Okay, moving up the curve, I already talked about Nick Fury Sr. and his perhaps questionable inclusion in this list. He is definitely here more for theme than for efficacy. The other 3-drop I've got is 4 copies of Phil Coulson. Now, Coulson does have Agent, which is useful and relevant. He's a 4/5/1 with range, which is not the best stats, but what really matters here is he gives all other shield agents stealth. So this is a way for us to get past irritating blockers, flyers, like just to get to that back row and get those wounds on the opposing main character, which is really what we want to do. We want to be able to have strategic homeland interventions and shocks to the system and secret avengers to keep our side of the board alive. A secret avenger primarily going to be used only for our main character. But we want to keep our side of the board alive while chipping away at their dudes and stacking wounds on their main character. And stealth is a super important tool in making that happen. To further facilitate the stealth being good, I have the 4-cost anti-registration affiliated Daredevil. He has a ton of words on him, but the ones that matter are martial artist. So he's a 5/5/1. He has Master Martial Artist on himself, so he's actually a 9/9 while in melee combat, and while he's in the front row, he gives all the other characters in my front row Martial Artists. So we combine a bunch of little Fitzsimmonses, Sharons, Phil Coulsons, these weak shield agent guys. Now they're +2/+2, and they can attack with stealth. Again, the Captain America being able to, you attack into my Daredevil to try to clear him first so you can shrink my board. Well, Captain America can step in and prevent that from happening. I also ran Mockingbird. I like this card probably more than it deserves. 5/3/2 on 4 is really not what I'm wanting. I would almost wish that she only had 1 health and better overall stats. She is an agent, which is part of the reason I like her, but she also has espionage, which is functionally agent for the enemy deck. So you get a look at however many agents you have. Let's say I have 4 agents in play, I get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and I get to stack those in whatever order is best for me. I really like that power. I'm not sure it's actually as good as I think it is. It certainly has been non-impactful in games and caused me. Ooh, that's a really dangerous card. Let's put that at the bottom. Oh, they drew something even worse. That has certainly happened. Espionage is maybe we call it a skill testing power. You can certainly hurt yourself with it as much as you can mess with the opponent. But Mockingbird is another one of those cards. Like she came out in a crossover box, and the crossover cards for the weaker teams, the first couple crossover boxes, they really made it seem like this was going to be, hey, the teams that are weaker and need support, we're going to support them in these boxes. Well, then the next few crossover boxes, they have really not done that so much. Um, and as such, the teams that were weak and needed that help haven't gotten that much help. And as such, some of these cool cards just haven't seen play. Mockingbird, and of course, I already mentioned Captain America. Uh, Next, I have 3 copies of Melinda May. You're never going to play her for 5. You're going to take wounds, and that's okay. The idea with Nick Fury here is we don't mind taking those early game wounds because we have so many ways to avoid getting killed by wounds in the mid to the late game. So we were going to be playing our 6/4/2 Melinda May for like 2 or maybe 3, like much cheaper than her 5 cost. I'd like her to be 4. I've gotten great use out of her in the past, and I struggled with some of these cuts here, honestly. The only 6-drop in the deck is Hawkeye. He's a 7/5 with quick draw, so he has the ability to strike ranged characters, even if they're, or strike back row characters, even if they're protected. And while he's doing that from range, he can't be hit back. So the quick draw sniper combination on this guy could potentially just clean up a main character that's hiding in the back row if you don't have Coulson's to help you get through that. And finally, we have Namor, 8 cost. He comes out as a 21/21. He has a bunch of negative powers that we're not going to pay for or interact with at all. He's just a 21/21 flyer when he comes out. I'm not even sure you want to resource up to 8 resources with this deck. So there's a chance that these Namors should be something else. Even the 7 cost Spider Woman maybe is something to consider. Uh, I don't like the 7 drop shield Iron Man. What's it called? Hulkbuster, because it requires a green. I don't want to spend superpowers on anything other than keeping my Nick Fury alive. So again, the overall strategy is we come out with these early game activators that have the potential to get Nick Fury leveled up quickly enough that 6/6 is still a relevant stat line. We use our agents and our prowlers to try to fix the cards that we're going to draw and then draw more cards than our opponent. Daredevil lets our guys be much bigger than our opponent's guys. Our plot twists plus our Captain America are ways for our to disrupt our opponent's attacks. So they're attacking inefficiently, doing things they don't really want to be doing, just trying to chop through our board that is wide. On a real level, our goal here is to out action our opponent. So we on our turn we have like 4 or 5 dudes to do stuff with, and maybe they have like one. That's what we want. We want to out action our opponent and take control of the board so that towards the end of the game, when we're looking for that kill shot with a big team attack of buffed up dudes that are stealth because of Coulson and buffed up because of Daredevil, or we're trying to snipe somebody from the back row with Hawkeye, or we're just trying to brute force it with our Namor. Regardless, at the end of the game, when we're going for that kill shot, we want our opponent's board to be chewed up, taken down, been forced to make inefficient trades and bad attacks throughout the whole game, so that at the end of the game, when we're paying a blue every turn, we only need to infinity formula like 2 or 3 times to stay alive and get across that finish line while we're consistently applying pressure. So that's the theory of the deck. Again, with the Kitchen Table series, I'm going to build these decks. I'm going to come up with the idea and I'm going to make the show about them and what the idea is, and then I will check in with them after I've had a chance to play them. So I will say, no, spoiler alert for checking back in with the Electra deck. Uh, there's a reason she hasn't left the binder very much. I did get to play the Electra deck from a couple episodes ago, uh, and it is. I had fun. I had fun, but I did not win games. So, okay, this has been Nick is Furious, my kitchen table deck for today. As always, if you want to support what we're doing, patreon.com/thebuildphase. I'm Mr. Ben, and you should go win some games.